Cleveland, and I'm the founder of the Balanced Horse Project. But more important, I'm the developer of Straight Forward Horse Man Ship. And the program is a very customized program for each situation, because every horse comes with a different challenge, just like every rider. So you can bring your horse into our programs, or we actually have a service where we come around to different locations in Canada and the US, and we work with groups of people to provide education so that you can understand what I'm seeing in a horse, and maybe you can see it too. That will change your idea about forcing a horse into doing a job versus encouraging a relationship where you both work together in partnership. That's why we have Horse Man Ship. We're located in Dothan, Alabama. We have Red Leaf Farms, which is a completely organic farm, which is designed to create what I need as far as resources to help these horses regenerate, rebirth, and reshape themselves. So you can bring your horse here. We could develop customized programs for each individual. Nothing is impossible, and just understand that what you have already invested in your horse will be a fraction of what I'm going to offer you. So, you can come in, I can come there. We teach riding lessons, we do demonstrations, workshops, and we're working towards setting up an apprenticeship program for people who are interested in expanding their experiences with working with really, truly resistance-free horses. So just keep us in mind, and you can look us up, find us at thebalancedhorseproject.com or .net on Facebook, and understand that that will bring you directly into the concept of straightforward horsemanship.
Oh, hi. You had a long drive from Enola, Oklahoma, didn't you?
Yes, it's been quite the trip.
My name's Pat Cleveland, and I'm the founder of the Balanced Horse Project, and also the developer of Straightforward Horsemanship. This is Julie Gerber, and she is the owner of a horse named Liberty, who has been a very key piece in understanding the dynamics of biomechanics and how we could change the results of horsemanship or horse training to make it really, truly resistance-free. So welcome to Red Leaf Farms.
Thank you. I can't believe 3 years ago we didn't know each other, and we're starting, I was trying to raise a racehorse, and she came out so crooked that I was embarrassed to show her to anybody, and the poor thing was a game little thing. She's crooked-legged and crooked-backed and crooked-faced. She was just about as sad as you can look, and so I got the vet out, and the vet said that we probably should just put her down, and he didn't think there'd be any hope for her, but we waited 2 years for this colt, so she's out of some great bloodline mare and stud, and so we had high hopes for this colt, just to come to find out that she was born about as crooked as she could get. So through searching on the internet, I found you, and I was like, there's no way this lady's going to be able to help me, but I'll call her anyway just to hear what she has to say. So from your Fractured Foal article, it was at least a hope, and so when I contacted you, you actually said to send you pictures, which I thought was amazing. So we took some pictures and sent them to you, and all the while thinking that there's no way that this could be fixed. So anyway, when you saw the pictures, what did you think?
Oh, my husband was looking over my shoulder, and he went, there is no way. And I was sitting there going, God works in the miracles every day, and I've been asking to find a way to prove my theories about how birth trauma influences how conformation, balance, and how horses go into resistance when we train. How do I link all these together and actually have it documented so people can understand? So your horse showed up on my computer, and I went, this is exactly what we need. And then I looked at my theories, which said that if nature wanted to have things symmetrical, it would create a symmetrical skeleton. So we have a symmetrical frame in the horse. And then I'm thinking the third law of motion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Okay, so if we have a problem in the hindquarters, we're going to have a problem in the front quarters. It's pretty simple. And then I started looking at nature and physics, and everything is based on spirals and twists and turns. So that's why when we talked the second time after you sent me pictures, I said, why don't we get 2 sheets and wrap it around the horse and give her a nice gentle hug and introduce the reversing of the birth trauma that she just experienced.
And when you said that and you sent me the diagrams, my family was like, you have got to be kidding. And but we were all willing to try it just because we wanted so much for this colt to survive, and she wanted to survive. I've never seen a sorrier colt chase her mom around as much as this one did. So you knew that she wanted to be a survivor and that she wanted a future. So we wrapped this poor little thing in sheets and did the twist and pull, and all the while thinking there is just no way this is going to work. And each time that happened, my family was like, all right, this is going to be the last time. And then we'd see a change, and it'd be like, oh my gosh, this is really working. And so then we'd send more pictures, and you'd come back and say, do this or do that. And taking each section and straightening it out, you could just see incrementally the changes, and she kept wanting. She never refused. She never refused to help us or let us.
And she's still doing that today. She's been one of the best teachers I've ever had. The process that we went through for me was very, very revealing, because I live in Dothan, Alabama, and you were situated in Enola, Oklahoma, which is approximately, 810 miles or so?
It's 865.
865 miles away. You're sending me a photograph. I'm looking at a series of photographs from different angles. I'm able to pinpoint where there were compression points and in the birth trauma that shifted the frame of the horse. And then I'm using that basically as a roadmap to figure out how we can untwist the horse. Then I phone you up, as you say, and say, okay, we're going to do these very odd exercises with your horse and see what happens. And when you applied it, how long did you wait before you took a second set of pictures to show me results?
Usually we waited 24 hours, and then we took pictures and sent them to you. So about every week, or from the very beginning, when she was youngest, we would do it every 3 or 4 days. We would take a picture in 24 hours, and then in about 4 days we'd do the whole process over again. So she was handled a lot in the first year, and then it slowed down to about once a week or once every other week as she grew. And that's the amazing thing, is that she kept growing. She never went through a stunted phase. She never stopped eating. She continued to thrive and grow as good or better than any normal colt would have. So it never got mad, well, that's not true. She did get mad, but she never got vicious. She would stomp her feet and grind her teeth, but she would never strike out or kick. She was always easy to catch, and still to this day is easy to catch. And you know more now, as she's more able to express herself, that some of the things that we do are uncomfortable and don't feel good, but she has never ever struck out at us in a vicious, angry manner.
Right, like you get some horses, if they come into the trainer and you do stuff, the horse kind of snapping at you and moving away and maybe biting or offering to cow kick you. This horse, Liberty, actually, when she's here, I just close the 2 ends of the barn and she runs loose, and I go up and I ask her if I can stretch this or put pressure on this muscle and get you to turn your head, or whatever the exercise of the day. And she does it without a halter. She does it without any force. She has the ability to say, yes, I need you on this side. And if I'm doing it wrong, I give her the space so she can turn her body around and reposition where I'm going to put pressure on to do these exercises. She's telling me where I need to be to help her. So that changes the whole concept of this is a dumb horse and I need to control what I'm doing with the horse. That brings us into partnership. And from that partnership, we've been able to learn secrets that we have never ever explored before. It has actually helped me to understand the language, the physical language of horses. But there's also this heartfelt language that some people would say is intuition, but it's there. And without that partnership of respect, a horse would go into resistance. This horse has worked from her understanding that we care enough that we're trying. So when she's here, I have learnt and remapped her body, and from that we have understood that balance is not created from the spine, it is not generated from the legs, although the legs prop the horse's body up, kind of like braces on a wall holding a brick wall so it doesn't fall over because of the tilt from the wind. So we've learned that, and then we figured out that our interpretation of biomechanics is basically upside down.
And it's a lot like all the exercise videos that you have out there to build your core muscles. That if the horse's core is not straight and symmetrical, then there's no way the legs are going to be symmetrical. And that's where you get your hoof changes, and that's where you go down the whole long trail of having a horseshoer out to correct this and correct that, put egg butt shoes on and wedges and all that other garbage that it's maybe not garbage, but it has its place in the whole realm of things. But if you don't have the core supported appropriately within the core, then your legs are just a piece of that, and they are the tattletales of the story.
They're the symptom of the fact that the horse cannot put her weight equally, like the legs on a table. She can't put the weight down all four legs, which in classical training we want the horse to be able to have the weight on the front end, the back end, the lateral, the two sides. Most horses can't do that. But the horses that I've put in our training program can do that, because, as you say, we're working on the core frame of the horse, and rather like yoga, you feel your muscles and you wait for those muscles to stretch, and then the body starts this process of a spiral and untwisting. And that then changes how the horse communicates and interacts with the people around, because they don't have to go into resistance or avoidance, because they don't have any pain in their body or minimal pain. And with her coming here, we've been able to photograph on top of the 2 years of photography and mapping hundreds of pictures, and it's helped to expand the learning curve that we've been able to produce. When she was at home, did you see any abnormal presentations of balance or wounds or behavior?
Yes, that her balance always seemed to be off, but as we were working on her, she became more and more balanced. But whenever we did a major move, it seemed like she would get an abscess. So she's had abscess, or what you would term an abscess, on each of the four corners, which would be both points of the shoulders and both points of the stifles. The weird thing is that these abscesses aren't normal abscesses. They break open and drain and heal up within 24 to 48 hours, and with no medication whatsoever. So it's just the draining of the toxins from the muscles, I believe, and that toxin comes out, it heals up, and to this day you can't tell where those abscesses were. She has no scars.
So there was no infection?
No infection. Although it looked like infection when it came out, because it's the white,
the gooey stuff?
Gooey, pussy looking stuff. So that came out. We washed it off with just plain old water. Didn't squirt any medication of any sort up in there. Didn't give her any antibiotics. And within 24 to 48 hours, she's healed up. So that's just an amazing concept. And with her mother, we moved her shoulders a little bit, and it came out in her hooves. You know, I called you that one day.
Oh, yes.
She was three-legged lame.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've just crippled my horse. And within 24 hours, she had this black tarry stuff come out right at her cornet band. and then another 24 hours she's healed up and sound. So it shows that from the core comes a lot of stuff that gets held in there
So
until you release it.
in this process, I've had to look at what we are provided as resources, as information, and realize that the more we go towards artificial means or synthetic means or process means, the further we move from allowing nature to actually do the job of rebalancing the horse's body and to actually regenerate healthy tissue. So instead of looking at biochemistry, I looked at physics. And physics brings us into the conversation of energy, and there's different types of energy, and how does that energy influence how a horse heals or reshapes itself. So nature has been our primary resource. The radiance, the harmony of our quiet farm, and the sun and the sounds around have been included as part of understanding how to unwind a tragic birthing injury in a horse. And there's no medication. There are no shoes. Simple horse feed. There's no processed feed. No harsh handling. There's no whips, chains, or drugs. And we work really in harmony in the relationship between a horse and a man to connect a whole unit of understanding that balances each other. I've learned so much about myself by working with your horse.
I have too. Like I said, it's been an amazing journey from day one, and a time where we've gone from, oh my gosh, there's no way this is going to work, to oh my gosh, this is working, to saying, oh my gosh, what can we do now? To what point can we take this horse? So here we are almost 3 years later, and she is sound still, and she's healthy, she's happy, and she's almost straight.
And is continuing to straight. We worked on her yesterday a little bit, and we have a different horse this morning than what we started with yesterday morning. So we're building, because it's started off as an experiment, turned into a research project, and now is turned into a training program. We aren't stopping with just where we are. We're going to keep building. What I have taken away from this experience has helped me to communicate to other people and open up how we're thinking, that maybe behavior is related to discomfort. And where does that discomfort originate from? And can we change the situation so we can remove the source of discomfort? And I personally have used all kinds of therapies. I've studied therapies, different healing arts, and I've come to the conclusion that they are very good maintenance programs. They only, at this point in our understanding of biomechanics, can support the original condition of crookedness in the animal. And what straightforward horsemanship does is it addresses the whole horse as a unit so that it does become straight, and a very large percentage of the corrections become permanent. And that means that if you do have to have a therapist or a chiropractor or a vet, the likelihood of them being successful is amplified greatly because the horse is closer to being straight.
Right, and that just leads to the horse that we rode yesterday. She was one of those biters when you cinch up the cinch. And,
oh yeah.
So you did your work with her, and then for the first time in 3 years, correct?
3 years.
We saddled her up, and she didn't reach around to bite. She didn't have any issues with the saddle, and so we got on and rode her, and she rode like she rode 3 years ago. So she has felt the change, and she recognized the change, so that she doesn't have that negative attitude any longer. So,
right.
And you've seen that in many other horses as well. So the other thing was the birth trauma. Going back to that, we bred our mare, the same mare and stud that are the sire and dam to this colt that was extremely crooked, and we had a colt born last spring, and he was as straight straight as you can get. So it just goes back to the basics that the birth trauma is the start, not the genetics.
That's right.
Because we had exactly the same genetics, but the birth trauma caused this horse to be extremely crooked, but the other colt was born natural and in the right position. So it all starts there, goes to the core of the body, it seems like, and then you build off of that.
We basically open up the horse's body memory and say, do what you're supposed to be naturally straight. Your structure is designed to be symmetrical. The skeleton is symmetrical. So that says original creation is symmetry, which is straight and balanced. And that's all we're doing, is we're reminding the horse's body that it can be straight. We can't be perfectly straight, but we can improve what we have. And when we started this program, we were playing around to figure out how it works. Now we know how it works. So instead of taking 3 years to figure out Liberty, we are now able to work with horses in a period of 3 to 6 months. Now we're shortening that down to approximately 6 weeks. And my long-term goal, instead of working with horses that are really extremely damaged, I'd like to change the outlook of the horse industry to say that if we brought horses into trainers that were versed in this approach, that we could work with the young horses between 9 months to 2.5 years old and prepare them for their lifetime career by doing this preparation type of work with the horse. So I basically call it a prep training program because I am preparing a horse to train. I'm not saying it doesn't work on older horses, because all my case studies are based on the world's worst wrecks, the most impossible situations, and in the majority of those cases they've turned around and totally surprised me. So if I can change how we're training horses, we can change the number of injuries in horses, we can change the number of injuries in people who ride horses, and that would take pressure off an overloaded horse industry that right now is producing too many damaged horses.
Right. So once you get that balanced horse, then you can get the rider and the horse together, and once you get the rider balance on the horse, then you have the complete horsemanship program that someone can go out and be competitive and win.
Yeah.
So you've got the athlete, the four-legged athlete, then you've got the two-legged athlete that you put together, and they become a balanced program.
And that's where we get to making the horse straight and putting the rider with the horse, and they feel how straight the horse is, and the horse can carry the rider balanced, and that brings us into completing the circle of horsemanship. And that's really the gift that you and Liberty and the curious mind of Pat Cleveland,
Yep.
I hope will bring to the awareness of people that work with animals.
So stay tuned for the next big race.
Yeah. The first thing that we did to Liberty is we looked at their injuries of her body, and we decided to use the idea of spirals. We took 2 sheets and we wrapped it around her body, crisscrossing underneath and over top, and 2 people, one at each end, just gradually took the tension so that we were hugging the whole length of the horse and gently reintroducing the idea of what it felt like to be straight. So Liberty was 24 hours old, and the memory of being straight in her muscle memory was the first thing that we imprinted with. When we imprinted the memory of being straight in her body, it allowed the legs to move. Instead of being swept to one side, it allowed her legs to move underneath the center of her body, because we were reducing the amount of twist in her upper body frame. So if you think of the legs as being, if you build a wall and the bricklayer braces the wall so that the wind doesn't knock the wall over, that's the function of the horse's legs. It's not the source of balance. It creates a leaning post for the horse's upper body. So when we hugged the horse with a passive squeeze on the sheets, we started to introduce the idea of coming straight in the muscles, and the muscles started to influence the bones. And when the pressure came off the legs,
they could actually fold and come underneath the frame of the horse and become straight. This is the first move of what we do to help horses learn about themselves and balance. So part of my idea about straightening out the horse actually comes from watching people walk and watching horses walk. When you get injured, you know to take and move away from pain. When we work with horses, they want to move away from pain. It's called self-preservation. When we take the pain away, we can start to stand up and become straight. This is the very basic idea of how we start to train the horse to recognize that if the pain's not there, I can stand up straight. But it goes even deeper than that. We know that the brain is pre-wired to understand what balance is. Because you don't get horses that stand up and spontaneously fall down. They automatically know how to shift their weight, turn their body, lift their head so that they can balance. If we expand on that idea and go into muscle memory, we always talk about training to break down muscle memory. What if we used muscle memory to go back and create what we call the homeostatic equilibrium or balance? And homeostasis is a medical term, but I use it in this conversation because it actually means to create balance. And that is actually in your horse's mind, in your mind. It's your natural way of moving, and as you become straighter, your movement becomes more effective. The way the horse wears his feet starts to change. The foot, some horses will have a tall heel and a flat heel, and in this process of allowing the body to discover its own reflexes and straighten itself, the legs start to come straighter underneath the center of gravity for either the front quarters or the hind quarters, and the angles of the feet change. They equalize. The shape of the horse's feet become the same. Some horses have small feet, one small foot, one big foot. They equalize. This is pre-wired into the cellular memory of your horse, and that is where the idea of how to use DNA, muscle memory, the brain function, and the structure creates this whole concept of allowing the body to recognize where it needs to straighten itself out. So it's been 3 years, and you're getting close to going home. That's
Right.
tomorrow, right?
So, but don't forget that she's only been here for 10 months. So most of the straightening that was happening was over the phone and over the internet. So not that we're going to stop here. She's just came down for some fine tuning, and then we'll go back to Oklahoma and complete the work, and hopefully get her to the weight racetrack so that she can run competitively and have a job. So
And
we'll
that-
continue to update.
We have a system that works by taking the pictures and talking and working together long distance. And we've gotten over most of the hurdles with this horse. So it's time to go home when you're going to be missed. But as we work together, I'll take and post the progressions on the Facebook page for the Balanced Horse Project. So you can follow Liberty's progress on Facebook. You can go to the host site, which is the Balanced Horse Project. But it's the home base for straightforward horsemanship. So that's straightforward horsemanship. And you'll find out what's happening with Liberty and her future.